Coin collectors, stackers, eBay sellers, eBay buyers, anyone with an e-commerce business. I'm doing a follow-up video to the video I did about the absolute cluster in Kentucky at the U.S. Postal Service distribution center there. And Google and the algorithms being what they are, when you search around for things, they serve you up more of those things. And I've been getting served up all kinds of related material. And, my channel is not about, kind of bashing the U.S. Postal Service. It's supposed to be about coins and numismatics and things like that I find interesting. But as an eBay seller of coins, I, have to deal with the U.S. Postal Service quite a bit. And so I'm going to dive into some of these articles that I found here. And you can see the first one that we're going to go into. We're going to talk about stealing. We're going to talk about some more clusters around and backups and things. But let's start with this article here. Former USPS sorting clerk admits to on-the-job theft of $100,000 in sports memorabilia. So jumping down here, we look at this. So Shelby Dozier, thanks buddy, of the Bronx, pleaded guilty to theft of mail by a Postal Service employee. He was hired as a sorting clerk in 2022, and what he was stealing were numerous parcels destined for a consignment auction house located in Clifton. The victimized company specializes in the sale of trading cards and sports memorabilia it receives from customers around the world. So many of us eBay sellers are selling collectibles, like trading cards. I know a lot of folks that have watched my video on the fix for trading cards and coin, the special rate that we have with the USPS for that, and the fix I propose in that video, are dealing with these kind of collectibles. So this makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, at least it does for me. And he swiped at least 10 parcels that contained valuable trading cards and sports memorabilia. So let's take a look at what he stole, or he supposedly stole. So in the criminal complaint filed on September 11th, some of the items that were stolen: trading cards of all-time basketball great Michael Jordan, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, and Connor McDavid. He stole some jerseys worn by Reggie Miller and other star athletes, autographed pictures of tennis icon Rafael Nadal and other famous players. And Dozier has agreed to pay the victims restitution of $108,000. Now, as we know, with most of these dirt bags, they don't have $108,000. And he's probably not going to be able to earn it very well, since he's going to potentially be in prison for up to 5 years. So that's the first one. So Mr. Dozier, Mr. Shelby Dozier, I hope you enjoy your time in the slammer for stealing people's property. Moving on, we're going to move a little bit north to Massachusetts. So the first one's in New York. Now we're going to up Massachusetts, and we're going to look at this one. Again, this one just came out as well. Former U.S. Postal Service employee in Revere and Melrose pleaded guilty on Monday to charges he stole hundreds of pieces of mail and government funds. So who's the dirtbag? Dirtbag Michael Murray, 37, of Lynn, pleaded guilty in court. And so what did he steal exactly? So he only worked there for like less than a year, and he stole hundreds of things from there. So he used his position to steal contents of hundreds of pieces of mail entrusted to him, including gift cards, cash, and checks, totaling about $3,422. He also went in, fraudulently wrote himself some UPS money orders, generating them for postal customers for his own use for another cool $5,000. And that's even probably a bigger offense. Let's look at what he had. For mail theft, he faces up to 5 years in prison, just like our dirtbag from New York, and a fine of up to $250,000. For stealing government funds over $1,000, 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervisor, and another $250,000. So this guy could be in jail for 15 years and up to $500,000. Well, good job. I hope you enjoy your time in the clink, Mr. Michael Murray. Moving on to another piece of news this week. If you're already not scared enough about sending your stuff out through the U.S. Postal Service, is this article, and all of these articles will be posted in the description. I'm not going to play this video here. There's not a lot of content to review, but I'll give you the long and the short of it. A gentleman was driving on the interstate in Georgia, a pastor named Mail Atkins, and he, that's odd, Mail Atkins, well, he saw all this mail on the road, and he couldn't stand the thought of all this mail being scattered on the side of the road. So, he didn't have to do this, but he pulled his car over and he went and started collecting all this stuff. And this is just a shot from his cell phone. He's just saying, USPS, do better. And thousands of pieces of mail scattered along here. Got and he went and got bags, and he spent hours and hours of his time all by himself picking this up. And then he brings it to the local post office, and they're like, well, gee, thanks. Oh, okay, great. Well, after the news got involved, the USPS sent out some people to pick it up, and as of at the end of the article, you'll hear them say, well, even though the USPS picked it up, and this very kind gentleman spent all of his time picking it up, there were still hundreds of pieces of mail scattered along the tree line. The USPS says, well, this wasn't us, it was a contractor. That makes me feel better. And then they said, well, this stuff wasn't deliverable anyway, so we don't know why you're getting so upset about it. Well, this, as the pastor says, contains people's personal information, all kinds of things that he was picking up off the thing. He said contains social security numbers, all kinds of stuff, just scattered along the highway. Well, I guess if it's not deliverable anyway, why not just dump it on the side of the highway? That's how we roll with the USPS. Moving west to California, according to Alturas California Highway Patrol, CHP, a USPS box truck transporting mail northbound to Alturas ran off the road and overturned. Resulted in one-way traffic, so they shut down one lane of the highway. Fortunately, the truck's lid remained securely closed, minimizing the damage to the content inside. However, the incident required the mail to be resorted, resulting in the top having to be removed. So that's what this is. They've cut the top off. They're bringing it out, and they're going to bring it all back to Reno, Nevada to resort it. Reports indicate that fragile packages were inside the vehicle, but the extent is still being assessed. So how does a truck like this flip over on the highway? It's hard to know. Maybe a deer ran out in front of them. But that's what's happening with your parcels right there. They're just taking the top off the truck and sending it for resorting. So hopefully you don't have anything on this truck, because based on some of the other stuff we're seeing, it's going to be a while. Next up, we're going to go over, head to Virginia, back to the East Coast, where we are looking at Georgia. I'm sorry, this isn't Georgia. This is Georgia, not Virginia. Senator John Ossoff makes an inquiry to the VA because so many veterans have called his office over USPS delays. So it's one thing to be sending, trading cards and coins and, resale items through the U.S. Postal Service. And, the U.S. Postal Service, they'll get them there eventually. I think that should be their motto. USPS, we'll get it there eventually sometimes. Well, this is, in my last piece on this, I talk about the fact that, people in Kentucky weren't getting their prescription meds. That's crazy. And here it is, our veterans, which is a very sensitive topic, especially if you are a veteran or you're later a veteran or you get these benefits. So it says the U.S. Postal Service still not delivering mail on time. It's affecting veterans' benefits. He confirmed that he has made an inquiry to the VA because so many veterans are calling his office. And the office in Palmetto, Georgia, so again, Georgia's where we just saw all the mail scattered all over the road, has been delivering mail about 50% on time. Every other letter will kind of get it there on time sometimes. And it's still unacceptable, folks. That's right. I think there's a real accountability problem, and he introduced legislation to make the Postmaster General a Senate-confirmed position. And he said he'd also like the Postmaster to have term limits so that no one will ever be able, no one will be able to handle this lack of urgency. You're thinking about Georgia's mail epidemic, lack of urgency. Just across the United States, lack of urgency in getting, stuff we talked about in the last article, like broken forklifts, broken hand scanners, broken doors. So they opened this distribution center in Palmetto last year, and it's just caused this chain reaction through the whole system. This debacle is of the largest magnitude. Swimmer said his daughter's wedding invitations never made it to loved ones, and he lost thousands of dollars in interest when his 401k check never made it to his P.O. box. Talks about all sorts of other things happening with people. Again, all these will be in the description below. Now, with all of these debacles happening from Kentucky to Georgia, New York, Boston, California, and across the country, what is the U.S. Postal Service doing about it all? Price changes and longer delivery times among changes coming from the Postal Service since 2025. Yay! All right, so we're going to pay more and get even worse service than we're already getting. Well, I can't wait to see what they say here. Changes are coming to the U.S. Post Office in 2025, with them possibly a more expensive trip when you visit, and depending on where you live, longer delivery times. Oh, isn't that the best news I've heard all day? Priority Mail Service and Priority Mail Express will increase 3.2%. USPS Ground Advantage, which is something I use all the time, is going to jump 4%. And Parcel Select, 9.2%. While standard mailing price is set by the Consumer Price Index, Shipping services price is set by market conditions according to the USPS. So they get to make it up. I guess that basically whatever they feel it is, that's what they're able to do. So by raising prices of these services, USPS believes it will allow the agency to remain competitive while increasing revenues. That's a debatable statement right there. So along with the price increase, some delivery service may slow down. Holy cow. It's going to alter the processes of some regional hubs. Well, I hope that's for the better, because what I'm seeing in all these articles is that these hubs are an absolute cluster of a mess. The changes announced in August are expected to save the agency around $3.6 billion a year and aren't expected to cause excessive delays. Because, God, we're not seeing excessive delays at the moment, so why wouldn't all this cost cutting and price increases affect that at all? Those who live closer to a U.S. regional hub may actually see faster deliveries. However, if you're a country bumpkin, you're going to be impacted. You may be impacted if you happen to have a nice house out in the country. So for anyone who lives kind of off the beaten path a little bit, you're probably going to be impacted by this. So this is probably, where is it there? It's, I lost track of it. Oh, here it is right here. For those who don't live near a small hub, they will still receive their mail with a maximum 5-day delivery for Ground Advantage and within the 3-day for local first-class mail. So I love this. Maximum 5-day delivery. Well, I hope the U.S. Postal Service would contact one of my customers in Florida who's been waiting on his Ground Advantage package now for 22 days. So, and I have a lot more than that. 5 days. God, if it gets there in 5 days, you're just praying to God. You're like, oh my God, thank Jesus, it got there in 5 days. Right now, it's 22 days for one customer. I have another customer who's about 22 days as well. I have another customer who's coming up on 30 days. All USPS Ground Advantage. It's pretty crazy. So that's a long video. Thank you for staying with me. Again, this is not the focus of this channel, is to beat up on the U.S. Postal Service, but for anyone who is in the e-commerce business, if you're an eBay seller, you're selling stuff on any of these platforms, you're being impacted by this. Your clients are being impacted by this. The platforms are being impacted by it, because what happens? They don't get it. You go ahead and put in the insurance claim with eBay or whoever the platform is, and you get reimbursed at some point. eBay is actually very good at this. I'll admit, they actually pay me pretty fast when I have to put these in. But they shouldn't have to be paying me. The clients should be getting their stuff, and it really irks me that I'm sending out rare coins in some cases that are now lost in the mail. I mean, these coins have been around for hundreds of years, and now the U.S. Postal Service has dumped them on the side of the road, or their truck tipped over, or whatever that happens to be. So thank you guys, as always, for listening. If you've listened all the way through, it's a long video, so thank you for hanging with me. I hope you have a tremendous rest of your day, and let's all say a prayer that the Postal Service gets its you-know-what together ASAP. As always, happy collecting.